right, and we are back for more. Me, Jada, Nick, and Damon. We are recapping that big PlayStation State of Play. We got lots of games. I know, Jada, you didn't want me to get to it because you were like, you love Silent Hill
so much,
keep talking about it. But can we finally talk about the first game, Concord?
Concord?
Yes.
Concord.
Yes.
Like the city.
I want to talk about. No, we're not talking about the city. Of course, we're talking about the game from Firewalk, which is a 5v5 FPS set in is the Concord. Is that the universe? Did they call it a universe?
I think they said the galaxy.
The galaxy of. Well, this is all new to us. But Damon, you were talking about this earlier. How like you wanted to get a little bit more than just a cheeseburger, and I think you kind of did.
Yeah, more than cheeseburger. It's an Overwatch-like. Actually, there are two Overwatch-likes in the show today. So. It's a crowded market. It's tough to find an audience, I think, today. However, as a tone piece, I liked what I saw here. It was fun. It's got a Star Wars and Guardians of the Galaxy vibe, so maybe that's enough. It's got some humor in there too. Maybe that's enough to sort of set it apart. But it's just there are a lot of Overwatch likes already. Yeah. So we know it's coming in August and it's coming day and date to PC, so that'll be a big help to them, just like Helldivers 2 was.
Mm-hmm. Now, Nick. I'm curious what you thought of this. I feel like from what we saw, like the trailer, there was a lot of personality. But like Damon said, like this kind of genre is kind of stacked already.
It's a crowded market, and I kind of talked about it a little bit in the pre-show right now, but anyone who's making a multiplayer game right now, it's hard. It's a crowded marketplace, and unless your name is Call of Duty or Fortnite, it really is hard to maintain a player base that is consistent for a game as a service because, I mean, I'm sure that they have whatever their week one strategy is for Concord, I'm sure it's going to be exciting and a great showcase for Concord, but like I feel like where it's going to shine is in its week 2, week 3 kind of presentation because that kind of goes back to my original thoughts looking at this is like they're spending a lot of time on this cinematic that's kind of setting up this story and this galaxy and this tone and this setting. But what does that look like in a multiplayer shooter? And then they kind of quickly answered that with a weekly release cadence of dedicated cutscenes and story cinematics that is going to update on a week-to-week basis, which is cool, but it just seems a little strange.
It seems very ambitious.
And risky.
Yes, very risky as well. We've seen Helldivers 2 came out, and we're getting new patches, new updates. Seemed like every 2.5, 3 weeks. And now they're starting to slow that cadence down. But it also carried them to, 12 million sales in 12 weeks? So, I mean, if that's the blueprint that they're following and they can keep the excitement and get enough people through the front door on day one and to buy into this, then maybe it's the right strategy. But every week is different from every 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That is a very tight schedule.
It's a lot to promise a new cinematic every week.
Yeah, a new cinematic vignette every single week, every single time you log in, or every week that you log in. That's right. Like I feel. So what happens if you miss a week? I think you were saying that when we were watching this, Jada. Like, what happens if you miss a week? So do you just miss that story, or what happens?
Do you fall behind that week?
I don't think Concord heads are going to miss a week, though. I think they're going to
give them their name.
Yeah,
we've got to be a better name than that. We're workshopping that one.
Concordians.
Concordians. See, that's all very better.
There you go.
Led by Weird Al.
Concordians are going to, if you're already sold by that trailer, there's no doubt in my mind that you will be there for the weekly release cadence. Where I think Concord is going to have a hard time winning a new audience is, again, somebody who's like, yeah, my buddies are playing this, I guess I'll check it out kind of thing. How do you get somebody who's walking in on week 4 invested in your kind of your story-based mission Overwatch-like looking game? One thing that does stand out to me based on some of the gameplay that we saw is it looks like it has a pretty solid look and feel for the game. And obviously, I've not played the game, so that's a very bold statement, but based on everything I saw, it was very evocative of like, oh yeah, this looks like it feels good to play. There is a lightness to the movement. There is a deftness to its jumps, and the sound design really stood out to me. And one thing we were watching, and I was like, hey, if nothing else, this is one of the most legible shooters I think I've seen in a long time, where I can look at a screenshot and be like, yeah, I know exactly what's happening here. I know who's where and who controls the situation. And I think that's important if you want to make a game that wants to stand on its own legs as a competitive game.
Yeah, I think the way they're going to win people over, though, is like just with the characters. Like each character that we saw they have very distinct personalities. Like I want to know more about Star Child. He was the big buff dude with the red protruding forehead. You know, I want to know more about him. I want to know more about. I think his name was Haymar.
Haymar?
The guy, the green guy.
That sounds like
the
a
green guy who
name.
loves hot sauce.
Yeah.
You know, I want to know more about him.
That's a green guy, by the way.
That is a green guy.
Hold on. We're not going to let this die. One thing, though, but to your point, though, Akeem, like, I think Concord lives and dies based on how it's able to integrate that personality it's showcasing in its cutscenes and, you know, impressive cinematics in its gameplay. Is that actually going to get a chance to shine, or is it like Overwatch where the story cutscenes drop, you know, once every 4 months and we get a slight update to the lore?
I was going to bring that point up because a big part of Overwatch's fandom was people growing attached to their favorite characters, buying the merch for their favorite characters, cosplaying their favorite characters, and we get these really cool cinematics, these amazing cinematics, but they were so far apart that it just kind of started to lose a lot of the oomph out of the story and caring more about these characters. So if they can keep these 1 week cadences up for the cutscenes every week, I think, you know, they might have a better shot at succeeding where Overwatch failed in that aspect.
And it sucks that we're always comparing it to Overwatch, but I mean, you look at that hero select screen, and it is like almost 1-to-1 down to how many character slots there were. I am a little surprised they didn't show more than 4 characters, at least like a snapshot of, okay, what is the kind of asymmetrical balance that you're going for here? Like, the developers seem to fully acknowledge that we are developing an asymmetrical multiplayer game and leaning into that, but I want to know, like, I see this team dynamic and this team build, and I understand that. But this seems to hit all the archetypes of a hero shooter already. So what other toys do we have to play with in the Concord Galaxy?
Yes, I'm kind of curious because well, one of the game devs did say that they were inspired by fighting games and of course other shooters. I'm curious about the fighting game aspect, a portion of this game, like what. Like a Street Fighter?
I think it's the inspiration of just having like counters, like that kind of counterplay between characters.
Or differentiating characters also. Right?
Also reading movement too, right? Like you know when someone's gonna wind up for their ult or whatever, and how you kind of balance that. Like we saw there was like somebody was using like a blizzard gun, some sort of freeze gun, but another character would like transition to a third-person FOV and was like doing somersaults to avoid it. So it's like they really are hoping that the game is gonna shine in those kind of player-authored moments that was like, oh man, I pulled off something sick that is not something that the developers told me that I could do, but it's just I figured it out in the moment, and that's where competitive games shine, in my opinion. You create your own personal moments.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, you know, we're looking forward to checking out the beta, which I believe is dropping in July, with the game launching in August. Now, after that, you know, we saw something else. My God, did we see something else?
Yes, that's kind of the definition of one thing and then another.
Well, yes.
Something else.
Well, my God, we saw something else indeed. We saw God of War Ragnarok is coming to PC, which, you know, hey, congratulations, PC owners. You can now enjoy what I've been enjoying for a very long time already.
You're just going to antagonize the PC?
That's not how is that being?
But see, this is where the beauty of it lies, though. They're going to be able to play it at native 4K resolution at 144 frames a second per second on their ultra-wide monitor.
Yes, Jada, you were talking about that.
That was my one question when it popped up. It was like, am I going to be able to take full advantage of my ultra-wide monitor for this? And they answered that. So I was like, all right, I might have to double dip. It's very hard to get me to double dip, but ultra-wide is one of those things I do really enjoy.
And based on PlayStation's track record for their PC ports, like they've been doing a pretty top-notch job of making sure PC players felt like they were taken care of. There was that initial disastrous launch of Horizon Zero Dawn, the original game, on PC, but since then, it seems like they really revamped their PC porting process. And, you know, God of War, the original God of War 2018, runs immaculately. Helldivers 2 runs incredible. Ghost of Tsushima, Horizon Forbidden West is now running great. So like this just feels like the natural conclusion. Again, this entire presentation seemed to reinforce the entirety of the new is it CEO and COO?
Co-CEOs.
Co-CEOs, Herman Hulst, made a statement about what kind of games they want to prioritize as being a day and date on PC versus when single player games will make their way to PC eventually. This seemed to just underline everything he said in that statement not so long ago.
Yeah, now I'm super excited for this one for one reason only. Damon, I don't know if you can see where I'm going with this. The mods. I feel like we're gonna be eating good on the daily fix, seeing what the modding community cook up within this world. Because they're already thinking about it. They already got their wheels rolling right now.
Dude, they're gonna throw Marvel Rivals as Thor as Thor.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yes, I want to see that. So yeah, moving along. I know Jada, you were kind of excited about this. The next game that we saw was Dynasty Warriors Origins.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this is so when I came up in the game industry doing a lot of freelance reviews, I played that was like my first 10 reviews were all like Dynasty Warriors, Samurai Warriors, those kind of games.
Yeah.
So this one kind of has a special place in my heart because it always reminds me of where I got my start. This looks fantastic, and it looks to be one of those games that really takes advantage of the PS5 and just being able to have so many moving parts on screen at once. So I'm very excited for this, and being able to play that one co-op with a friend or my partner, I think it's going to be great.
It looks kind of chaotic, I would say.
It's meant to be chaotic. That is the whole point of
That's
Dynasty
war,
Warriors.
Akeem.
War is chaos, dude.
All right, let's see. So after that, we got Infinity Nikki. We got Ballad of Antara, which we spoke about earlier. Now we're getting to the PSVR 2 section. We saw 2 PSVR 2 games. We got Alien Rogue Incursion and Skydance's Behemoth, which I'm in love with that game.
That looked very cool.
It looked like a reason to own a PSVR 2.
Maybe
100%, yeah.
And it's coming
Are
from.
you happy now, Jay?
I'm very happy. This is something we've been talking about.
Are you going to crack it out of the box finally?
It's been out of the box. I told you I've been playing Beat Saber and playing Call of the Mountain, a couple other VR stuff. This is something we've been talking about on Beyond for months now?
Since it released and that ominous box appeared on the table, and no one knew what was in that. It was a PSVR 2. Jada never opened it.
It was a while.
But this, but yeah, it looks amazing. Right now we're showing footage from Alien Rogue Incursion, which also looks pretty good
and scary.
It looks very scary. Is this enough though to move the needle for you to actually?
I don't know.
Keep that box open and
it's already open and out on your table.
Yes, it is all set up. I've got a dock and everything. It's all set up to recharge it, like a recharging station. It's great. I don't know. I'm not a huge Alien fan. I love the movies, but I've never been a huge fan of the games, overall. So who knows? We'll see. Maybe this one will, if I get a game code or something like that, like we do sometimes, that'll definitely get me to play it.
Going to Behemoth though, I know everyone likes to tout Half-Life Alyx as this, this is the advent of PlayStation VR. This is truly a showcase of the technology. I would encourage them to also check out The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, which is the developer behind Behemoth, because The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, believe it or not, it is a licensed property, but it is an outstanding showcase of PlayStation VR where you are rummaging through drawers, looking for ammo, trying to reload your gun in the middle of a zombie invasion. So based on that caliber alone has me excited for Behemoth, because those people know what they're doing with PlayStation VR.
Well, we should cover why Behemoth looks so cool. So it's fantasy action game with huge sense of scale, huge monsters, and I am a big fan of big monsters. And also you can punch off heads or slice heads in half.
Yes. Yep.
And that's also very cool.
So can we grabbed an arrow?
Use a grapple hook to pull an arrow back, and then you can knock your bow with it and just dude,
Nick, that's called a web slinger.
The web slinger. Apologies.
Yes. All right. Yeah. Also, if you're not a fan of VR, you can also get Shadow of the Colossus and still get that same experience of getting that scale. Which as a fan of that particular game, that's what made me in awe of just what we were seeing on screen. And are you gonna be able to climb this massive whatever? I don't know what type of monsters they're.
He looked kind of Squidward-like.
A behemoth.
It's a behemoth.
It was a behemoth.
It was the behemoth.
Yes. It looks like there's multiple behemoths because there's a couple different behemoth-like creatures scattered throughout the game, which brings up a great point. How are you going to scale and take down these giant things? The team at Skydance and the developers behind this, I think they understand what makes VR work and what is compelling about VR, given that sense of scale. But I think it's also that flexibility and that improvisational nature of combat that you see in something like Gorn, right? Where it just feels like it's fun to experiment with all of the toys they give you to play around with, and whether VR game works or not is how it facilitates that improvisational nature of gameplay. And it looks like, again, you could just punch a dude's head off. So, hey, I'm sold.
I'm all for punching people in the face.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we got plenty more to discuss. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.